Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on La Belle Sauvage by Philip Pullman. La Belle Sauvage is book 1 in Philip Pullman's The Book of Dust trilogy that takes place 12 years before his Dark Materials. 11-year-old Malcolm Polstead unwittingly finds himself turned into a spy when he discovers a secret message inquiring about a dangerous substance called dust. Malcolm is thrown into a battle between opposing sides, and in the middle of all of this is a newborn baby named Lyra. Malcolm doesn't know why Lyra is special, but he does everything in his power to protect her from those who would harm her in the midst of a flood that swallows up England. I honestly did not know what to expect with this novel. For starters, it came out of nowhere. I am a big, huge fan of Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy. I love that series. And yeah, I was very excited to find out that Philip Pullman was doing another trilogy set in the same universe. So yeah, this new trilogy just kind of came out of nowhere. I think when I first heard about it, it was early 2017. Before that, I had heard zip about it. And for another, just the plot summary, you know, when it was initially released, it was just very vague and mysterious. Philip Pullman just wasn't letting anything slip. So yeah, I went into this book pretty much knowing absolutely nothing about it. The only reason I picked it up is because I knew that it was a prequel of some sort to his Dark Materials, which, like I said, I already loved and enjoyed. So before I do get into my review of this book, what I did in preparation to read this new trilogy, I decided that it was probably in my best interest to reread his Dark Materials, and I think it's a good thing that I did. And that's what I recommend. I highly recommend that either you reread his Dark Materials, or if you've never read that series but you are interested in this new series, I do recommend reading the original trilogy first, because I think it just helps you to get established with the world and kind of what's going on, you know, a lot of the major concepts and the major themes and whatnot. I mean, I guess you could jump right into this book if you wanted to. If you've never read his Dark Materials, I guess you could jump right in, but I don't know, I feel like you might be missing out on just little things, because there's definitely characters in this book that are in his Dark Materials, and I feel like if you've never read that trilogy, you'll be definitely missing out on those characters. You won't understand their importance or their significance. So, like I said, I mean, if you want to start with this trilogy, having never read the other trilogy, that's up to you, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think, for me personally, my recommendation is that you definitely need to either start with the original trilogy or at least reread it, because I'm definitely glad I reread the trilogy, because it just helped me get back into the world and kind of just, you know, jog my memory about certain things. So going into what I liked and perhaps didn't like so much about this book, in general, I really enjoyed this novel. I was kind of blown away by some of the things that were going on, and like I said, I had no idea what to expect at all, so I was just kind of pretty pleased. I was kind of surprised what was going on and whatnot, but yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I especially really enjoyed the beginning and the middle. Now, the whole last chunk of the book, there's some chapters that are kind of hit or miss for me. There are just some chapters at the end. I really don't know what the hell Philip Pullman was up to, what he was trying to do, because if you've read this book, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's just some very strange chapters near the end of this book that I feel could have just been edited out, like completely edited out, like they wouldn't have been missed at all. all. So like I said in my brief plot summary at the start of this video, this book does take place about 12 years prior to his Dark Materials trilogy. And the main character that we're focused on is this young boy named Malcolm Polstead, and yeah, he kind of just finds himself wrapped up into this greater mystery, this greater threat, and he finds himself determined to protect this newborn baby girl named Lyra. And if you've read his Dark Materials, you know exactly who Lyra is. You know the significance and the import she will play in the very near future. So yeah, that's why I also say reread, or at least start with the original trilogy, so you can understand the Lyra character, why it's such a big deal with her. But yeah, essentially what this novel kind of boils down to, it's a story about what is dust, what is so mysterious about it, why does everyone either want it or why do they want to destroy it, and this and that, and what's up with Lyra, why is she important? And yeah, a lot of this novel centers around this huge flood that is about to happen. And yeah, sure enough, the flood does happen at some point in this novel, and I really liked the whole concept of this flood, because like I said, if you've read his Dark Materials, you know that his Dark Materials, it has a lot of religious themes and religious allegory, and this first book in this new trilogy kind of does the same thing. And with this flood, it's very reminiscent of something like Noah's Ark from the Bible. And yeah, Malcolm and his friends and all these various other characters, they're all just wrapped up into this flood. They gotta figure out how to get their way through the flood. And not only do you get Noah's Ark vibes going on in this book, but I don't know if it was just me, but I was also getting the Odyssey vibes. The Odyssey by Homer, the classic Greek story following Odysseus after the Trojan War. And yeah, in the Odyssey, Odysseus, he's trying to make his way back home, and just obstacle after obstacle just keeps happening to him to prevent him from getting home. And that's kind of what happens in the midst of this flood. Malcolm and his friends, alongside baby Lyra, just things are getting in their way, and that's what I was saying about some of the ending chapters can be hit or miss, because sometimes they're just really random and I don't get them. And that's almost kind of like the Odyssey. If you've read the Odyssey, you might kind of know what I'm talking about, that the Odyssey just has little random occurrences happening to Odysseus. Like he'll be in this place for a chapter, he'll be in this place for a chapter, and it's all kind of weird and strange, and it's kind of what ends up happening in the concluding chapters of this book, just weird little things that are reminiscent to the Odyssey. And just to talk about some characters, starting with the little boy, Malcolm, I really loved experiencing this novel mostly through his point of view. I really enjoyed his naive innocence, but also his willingness to help and his determination to protect baby Lyra at all costs. I also really liked the character of Alice, who goes on this journey with Malcolm. Alice is almost kind of reminiscent of Lyra in his Dark Materials. Alice kind of has that same similar sort of spunk and sass, very much like Lyra does. And yeah, I just like how she doesn't care. She has this attitude. And yeah, like I said, Malcolm has this naive innocence to him, and Alice is kind of the total opposite of that. She's kind of been jaded by life in some ways, even though they're practically the same age. And like I also mentioned briefly earlier, that characters from his Dark Materials, they make cameo appearances in this book, because characters like Lord Asriel and Mrs. Coulter, they do pop up, they do play significant parts. I'm crossing my fingers though that Lord Asriel and Miss Coulter, I'm hoping that they make an even bigger impact in this new trilogy, because they didn't have huge parts, but they're still significant, and I'm hoping for more page time with them. I'm hoping for more explanation into their relationship that we never entirely got fleshed out in his Dark Materials. And yeah, there's even characters like Hannah Relf and Farder Coram. They make appearances in this novel as well. Like I said, if you've read the original trilogy, you know who those characters are. And before I conclude this review, I definitely got to talk about just Philip Pullman's excellent writing as usual. With his Dark Materials, I really appreciated Philip Pullman's his willingness to just go to some truly dark, horrific places. And, you know, he has some really big themes and concepts and messages. And even though his Dark Materials was targeted for children, with his writing, he didn't treat children like they were idiots. You know, it's like he expected his audience to kind of understand and grasp what he was trying to express, you know, treating his child audience like adults almost. And yeah, this new trilogy, I don't think it's targeted so much towards children. Like I said, his Dark Materials was more for children. I think this new trilogy is more for a young adult audience, you know, the people who grew up with his Dark Materials but now are older. But he does, Philip Pullman still goes to some dark and terrifying and horrific places with this new trilogy. And yeah, the concepts and themes are even bigger and I think much more impressive in some ways. So yeah, basically what I'm trying to say, Philip Pullman, he does not sugarcoat anything. Nothing is sugar-coated to make life look all happy, fluffy. And something else that I really appreciated about this novel, it dives more into the religion of this particular world. If you've read his Dark Materials, his Dark Materials takes place kind of like in an alternative setting, an alternative version of our world. And yeah, in his Dark Materials there was a lot of stuff about religion and everything, but we never really saw characters practicing religion. They always talked about religion, but we never saw religion played out, if that makes sense. So in this new trilogy, what we're seeing is religion is playing a big, huge part, especially seen through the eyes of the children who are essentially being brainwashed by the corrupt religious system. And yeah, this religious society is kind of the dominant force controlling everything in this world. So religion in this book is definitely a pretty, like, scary, terrifying thing, and you don't want to mess with the people who are controlling everything. And dust, spelled with a capital D. Dust is definitely a big pivotal thing once again in this new trilogy. I'm just kind of curious to see what Philip Pullman does with that. If we get more explanation about dust, I don't know. So overall, in conclusion, like I already said, I really enjoyed this new start to this new trilogy set in the same universe as his Dark Materials. I just really like the concept of it being a prequel, and yeah, we get some great cameo appearances, and I have high hopes for the next two books in this series. I hope they don't let me down. So yeah, if you loved his Dark Materials, definitely pick this up, give it a shot. It's not a perfect book. There's things about it that could, like I said, things can be hit or miss. Things might be a tad bit slow, but I think it definitely has a promising start, and I think it's going to go to some interesting places. And I also like how localized this book is. You know, with his Dark Materials, Lyra was essentially kind of portal hopping to various different universes throughout that trilogy. She was kind of just all over the place, and yeah, I really just liked how localized this book was. It was just in one location, essentially one town, and yeah, I liked kind of that further extensive world building that I think was kind of missing almost in the other trilogy. So yeah, I definitely recommend giving this a shot. Like I said, if you enjoyed the original trilogy, this may not be for everybody, just kind of depending on how you feel, but I recommend giving it a shot nonetheless. So that's it for this book review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.